And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. Bum, biddy bum, bum, biddy bum, bum. Beep boppity beep boppity beep boppity beep boppity beep boppity boppity bum. Killing Kulve Taroth.
That's right, we finally get to kill KT in the new event quest. But what do we think about the Master Rank Kulve Taroth fight, and more importantly, how does her new Master Rank gear look in the meta? Well, I'm Jinjinx.
And I'm Tuna. And we're
the Monster Hunter Math Guys.
So the new Kulve fight is an amazing addition to the game. It's no secret that Jinx and I's favorite fight so far has been Kulve Taroth. And the new MR Kulve Taroth is nearly perfect. There's a couple things I would change. I would like if they got rid of Area 2 entirely, but the new Area 4 fight, which is the most important, is done very well.
For those of you who haven't had a chance yet to actually fight the new Master Rank Kulve Taroth, essentially you're doing Area 2, 3, and 4 of regular Kulve Taroth. However, unlike the previous quest, your goal is to kill her, so you're basically depleting a health pool. And there are some other key differences, however we'll get into all of that.
Mounting is still possible, CC is still possible, although I don't think you need a CC chain anymore, and even special tricks like pod KO prep can still be used here.
That's right, pod KOs are still a thing against KT, which is great because with Clutch Claw and technical weapons, you can be dropping a lot of pods on the ground.
There's a couple new moves like the belly flop, and of course you can finally take her HP all the way down to 0 and kill the monster. But what kind of hit points does she have?
So first off, just keep in mind all the values I'm giving you are with only initial rounds of testing. We haven't gone super in-depth to confirm how accurate these are. And one thing to keep in mind is that this new event quest does scale depending on how many hunters are in the quest, so 4 players and 1 player are going to have different health pools. Which means yes, you can farm this solo, and yes, it's not even that difficult. Alright, let's talk health pools. So our old friend Heika did run an overlay on PC while hunting Kulve Taroth. According to him, the single player health is 54,000 according to his overlay and 108,000 in multiplayer. Now, this is a lot of health. This is basically twice what Safi Jiva has. However, Kulve Taroth is also very famous for having extremely juicy hit zones, so you'll be hitting several hundred damage attacks no problem. Our 4-player runs where we basically had no strategy, we were just going completely Papega, still hit around 10-12 minutes, so it's very easy to farm this monster up quickly. Also, a thing to keep in mind is that at least based upon our initial testing, all the different phases of this hunt are based on health thresholds. So KT will go red hot at around 80% or so health, then she'll release at around 70% health, and she'll transition to the final area of Area 4 at about 40% health. As far as we can tell so far, pot breaks don't seem to matter for this. However, anytime you break a pot, she does drop items on the ground, and the entire point of this quest is to farm those items. Now the question then becomes, is it even worth running pot breaker for this? And in my humble opinion, absolutely in Area 4. See, even though breaking the horns does not end the hunt, you still have to deplete the health pool and kill KT. Killing KT gives you 5 carves off of her body. Breaking her horns off give you an additional 4. Now the entire point of this quest is to farm up drops. However, the drops you get from Carves are worth significantly more than the ones you get from the ground. There is zero doubt in my mind that breaking KT's horns every single run to get those 9 total Carves is by far the fastest way to farm this quest. Now, you don't need Pot Breaker to break the horns. It's fairly easy to break it without any Pot Breaker and still do it before you kill KT. That being said, because the time limit of this quest is 50 minutes, the only way you're going to end up failing to break the horns before killing her is if you kill her too fast. Pot Breaker helps alleviate this, especially if you struggle to hit her horns consistently because you don't know her moveset very well. But now that we're getting all of these materials very nicely, what does her gear look like and how does it affect the meta? Well, let's take a look at her armor first.
The armor is interesting. Design-wise, I think it's almost perfect for what Kulve armor should look like. It's elegant, stylish, but for skills, I'll say it has a niche. I think for damage-oriented sets, Brute Tigrex still beats it out. especially if you use a Safi weapon that has a Brute Tigrex Awakening. But if you're the kind of person that likes to just use one armor set, and you like support, this could be the one you go for.
Now, if we're looking instead at meta damage sets, this is not the best. Simply put, this is very oriented to being a mixture of damage and support-based skills. However, there is one armor piece in this set that is ridiculous, and that is the new Alpha Legs. This is the most efficient piece of armor point for point in the entire game. However, we have a conundrum with using this in our armor sets because we just got Raging Brachydios. See, even though these legs would make the Raging Brachydios Brachyhemoth meta set more efficient, we lose Agitator's Secret, losing us to Agitator. The current melee meta is all about what are the best set bonuses we can add, and unfortunately none of the KT set bonuses are good for meta sets, even though the legs are the new most efficient piece in the game. That being said, we are looking at a new set that does use a Teostra Awaken on a Safi Jiva elemental weapon along with these new leg pieces. Now, these new leg pieces do give us the efficiency to slot in some more skills we were missing in the Brachyhemoth set, namely elemental attack skills, or even maxing out the last 2 points of your blast attack on your set. Now, this new set does have 10 less base tRaw compared to the current Brachyhemoth set because you are running a Teostra Awaken instead of an Attack Awaken. But it is possible for the elemental damage or the blast procs to make up for that damage difference. We're gonna be doing some more number crunching and let you know for certain in the future video. So yeah, TLDR, if you get any armor piece from Kulve Taroth, get the legs. Alright, now that we've talked about all of the armor and its place in the meta, let's take a look at all of the weapons. So a super quick overview on how the new Master Rank KT weapons work. You first have to have a high rank KT weapon from the original Siege. You then take this Siege weapon and then upgrade it with the materials you get from this event quest. You can add up to 5 extra levels to this, making them into the new maxed out versions. A real important note is that even though these maxed out versions are going to end up at either R11s or R12s, they are still all customizable. This gives you the ability to add in even more elements and even more raw into your weapons. Alright, now that we're all on the same page, let's discuss the new weapons.
The raw Taroth weapons all look bad. They appear to get the same sharpness as the base weapons did with Handicraft 5, meaning none of them get purple. As we mentioned in a previous video though, purple isn't that big of a deal. However, they also get less true raw than the Safi weapons. So in other words, they are strictly worse. And you can't get blast, para, or poison on them without using 3 awakening. And that puts it even further behind other sets we already have.
Now you may be thinking the new KT helmet does run 3 free elements, however it has no slots, so it's an absolute trap of a piece of gear. Because of the lack of slots, this is basically a worse version of the Kirin legs that we've had since Master Rank came out. Not to mention, running this means you lose one of your set bonuses, most likely the Brachydios Agitator's Secret set bonus. So yeah, would not recommend. Now, the only real exception to this Taroth raw melee weapons not being worth using is possibly Hunting Horn.
As you know, Hunting Horn math is pretty complicated. It doesn't just matter about the stats, you also need to look at the songs. So that will require a little bit more research, but we'll get back to you.
At the current moment, it looks like there are 7 Hunting Horns from KT that are possibly very strong if not meta, and we'll be sure to cover those in a future video. Now, one thing I do want to mention, all of these Taroth weapons do count as a piece for the Kulve Taroth set bonus. So this does mean that if you do choose to run a Taroth weapon as well as a Kulve Taroth piece of armor, probably the legs, you do get Guts. Now, this does mean you could potentially run a combination of Guts and Master's Touch with an amount of damage loss. This would require you to either run just 2 pieces of KT armor, but remember the legs are really the only good one, or to run a Taroth weapon which is weaker than a Safi Jiva or Brachydios weapon along with the legs from the Kulve Taroth set. Both of these options also make you lose the Brachydios Agitator's Secret, so you are getting quite a bit of damage loss, but it's a comfy option. Definitely wouldn't be my personal recommendation, but it is something you can do now. This does also mean that if you run a Taroth weapon with Kulve Taroth legs, you can run both guts as well as heroic secrets. To us mere mortals, this is completely irrelevant, but I cannot wait to see what kind of speedruns come out of this new set. So if the Taroth melee weapons all look kind of terrible, how about the Kjarr? Well, a lot of the Kjarr weapons actually look pretty solid. Now, because the Kjarr weapons are crit element elemental weapons, pretty much all the raw versions look pretty bad. The only exception we've noticed so far is the Kjarr Decay longsword, which might be the new meta one. We'll do some more crunching. And some of the better Kjarr paralysis ones, namely the ones that get white sharpness, do also look potentially pretty good. They'll be dealing less damage than your Safi Jiva variants, but have a lot more paralysis buildup. As for purely damage, the Kjarr weapons that look potentially strong at the moment are dual blades, IGs, and bows. And of course the Kjarr ICB, which hits almost 1200 ice, so I'm just gonna say that and leave that there, it doesn't really need any explanation. The Kjarr dual blades got a lot more stats than the other Kjarr weapons for some reason, and are certifiably the new meta choices. We're currently looking at numbers of up to 10% more damage than the current Safi Jiva meta dual blades. This is because not only do they get more raw than the Safi weapons, they have barely less element when fully upgraded and customized. And they get critical element built in. Now, because they have critical element built in, this means they can run critical element plus the Safi Jiva 5-piece set bonus to just deal buckets of damage. And if you happen to not like running Protective Polish, if you want to run Critical Element plus Master's Touch, they just do it much more efficiently because they don't have to use Volcana armor pieces. A huge thank you to our friends Gaz and Refia for providing these calculations to me. And as for IG, according to MoonMadness, our IG set optimizer over on the Discord server, at the moment Kjarr Water and Kjarr Para look to be good options. And the Kjarr bows definitely look good for the same reason they look good on dual blades, however we still need to do a lot more math to determine for certain and how much stronger they are. A final thing I want to mention about Kjarr weapons, they do not count as part of the set bonus for the Kulve Taroth gear like the Taroth weapons. This is because instead they have an innate crit element or crit status set bonus. Alright, let's talk about a more interesting category, bowguns.
Let's cover light bowguns. The big thing is the Taroth Support light bowgun. This was the king of rapid fire normal 2 back in base, and now it's back, and better than ever. We're looking at about 32% increase in damage over other rapid fire normal 2 options. Not normal 3 though. We have 8 bullets, plus 1 rapid fire recoil, and a fast reload. That's fantastic. Of course, this is still worse than spread light bowguns. Support is 5% weaker than the second and third place spread light bowguns, Frostshot and Garuga, and a lot weaker than the Drakshot Spread 3, the current king of light bowguns. Of course, this is assuming they have equal uptime. The support is the comfiest light bowgun in the game next to maybe Sticky Spam. However, the Frostshot and the Garuga are also the comfiest spread options, and not much less comfy than the support. And the support only gets this 5% weaker DPS if it's in close range, which is the same as spread ammo. This basically means you're playing at the same range. Playing outside this range means you lose your close range mod, and that's a 30% damage decrease, assuming you have 2 close range mods. Either way, it's a competitive, comfy light bowgun playstyle, and we'll definitely see play in speedruns and my streams.
Now, Tuna did mention it does not beat Normal 3. That's because the Lightbreak light bowgun is a rapid-fire Normal 3 and still beats out the support light bowgun by about 13.5% in theory. Emphasis on in theory because the Lightbreak light bowgun is arguably the hardest gun to use in the entire game, but we will be covering that in the next video. Now, as for the Kjarr Elemental light bowguns, while these do sound like they'd be great in theory, they do get innate crit element and they do get a decent amount of stats. And you get to run crit element with the Safi Jiva 5 set bonus, which is just a lot more elemental damage than true crit elements. The problem is that the Safi Elemental light bowguns get 7 round clips and the Kjarrs only get 4. So at least according to the initial calculations by our bowgun set optimizer Chad, it's looking like the Kjarr light bowguns are just weaker than Safi Elemental light bowguns. Alright, next up let's talk about heavy bowguns. So for the raw heavy bowguns, I think this graphic made by Chad pretty much sums it up. That's right, the Glutton only gets 220 true raw. Now mind you, I'm not saying Spread 3 Heavy Bowgun needs a buff because it's literally the strongest thing in the entire game, but 220 true raw is laughably low. And the Kulve Taroth normal and Pierce Heavy Bowguns get basically the same treatment. However, the interesting one to look at is going to be the Kjarr Elemental Heavy Bowguns. Now these have the same deal as the Elemental Light Bowguns, they get to run both Critical Element and Safi Jiva 5-piece set bonus. However, unlike LA Light Bowguns, they get basically the same ammo stats as the Safi Jiva Elemental Heavy Bowguns. This means they end up about 20% stronger or so based on Chad's initial calculations. So yeah, grab all of the Kjarr Elemental Heavy Bowguns cause they do chonky damage. Not Spread Heavy Bowgun chonky, but literally nothing in the game does Spread Heavy Bowgun chonky damage.
That's all, folks. As always, thank you for watching the video. We'll have more videos out soon.
And be sure to like the video and leave a comment below. Mathematically speaking, you are more likely to do so if I ask you to, so prove how much you love math. Yeah.
If you like the video, share it with your friends. You can check us out on Twitter, where we post updates to the channel and other random things that interest us, and you can also check me out on Twitch, where I stream Monster Hunter and other games almost every day. We're going to be doing a lot of Kulve Taroth soon, so stop in and say hi. If you're looking for other like-minded hunters to hunt with, or you just need to get a hold of us, check out the Discord server, The Mathless Nest.
And I also want to give a huge thank you to our entire set optimizer team. This video would not have been possible without the numbers they tirelessly crunched as soon as MRKT came out. Y'all are amazing, thank you so much. Also a special thank you to our old friend Heika, who did help us with the HB numbers as well as recording the build card for the new set. And of course none of this would be possible without the generosity of our patrons. And an especially big thank you to our new patrons Andrew Foruria, Doc Wobbly, and Patricia Moxley. Thank you so much for your support as always, especially in the trying times that we have going on in the world right now. We know there's a lot of things you could be spending your money on, so it means a lot that you're choosing to support us. So again, thank you so much. Alright, that's all we got for you on this one.
So make sure you do those things you gotta do to see our videos. Thanks again, see you next time.
Happy hunting, hunters. Bye.
Bye.